Hey, welcome everybody to SJGames Live. I'm Jimmy, and here I'm with Randy today, and we are doing another Car Wars deep dive on the crew this time. So we've done a couple of these so far. Just basically, we're tackling various aspects of Car Wars 6th edition and going in depth on one particular subject each time. And this time it's the crew, which is a very important part of your car builds. Um, the basic crew rules are you need one of each, one driver, one gunner in your car, and they each can take one shot around. And they are part of the build points you get assigned whenever you decide the division that you're going to be fighting in. Uh, so today we're going to be going over the drivers, the gunners, the crew equipment, and one piece of car equipment that relates to the crew. So if you've not had a chance to play Car Wars 6th Edition, there's a lot of videos you'll look at over there or down there, depending on where you're looking at it, watching us on.
You can start here.
You can start this one.
It's just not going to make a whole lot of sense in some parts.
But yeah, so crew. Let's start with designing the crew because that's something you guys had to tackle on what kind of part this is going to play and how they're going to work out. What were the high points on things that you guys like decided needed to happen as far as or found that needed to happen once you got into it?
Well, at one point, we had everything in one bucket. So when you were building your car, the points were just all over.
Mm-hmm.
So you were using the same points for putting a weapon on the side of your car as you were for putting a driver in the driver's seat. That quickly doesn't work because you can min-max one way or the other, and then any one section becomes unimportant and just sort of goes away.
You just buy the best gunner and he doesn't need the best guns.
Well, you find out that wouldn't it be better if I just had the gun? Like, and then the story of this guy is in here and the different interactions go away. So once we started splitting things apart a little bit, it really solved a lot of that for us. It still has, we don't want 1,000 different currencies, but having 2 currencies and essentially a third, but the third is just armor. And that's okay, there it is.
It's not really a decision other than you decide how much it's going to be on for everybody.
Right.
It's not a building
a
car
choice. Take
choice.
this on each side of the car.
Yeah.
At that point, it is a lot of questions come up about, well, if you have a driver and a gunner, can you just have 2 gunners? Can you have 2 drivers? What happens when those things occur? And again, you can make glass cannon type builds a little bit too good, where you've got rerolls and extra dice, and it can really help to limit that down to one thing. And when we talk to people who played earlier editions, one type of story kept popping up, and that was, I remember when I built an S10 pickup and it had like 8 guys in the bed of the truck with assault rifles or bazookas or whatever.
I had the bus with just a whole bunch of guys with machine
guns.
School
bus with machine guns. Yeah. That's what I drove around with. And be like, yeah, you get 1,000,000 shots. Once you're getting 2 shots and you have 2 crew members, I have to restrict you on what you can shoot. Everybody's got to be on the same playing field, because it turns out that there was a way to win by just doing that stuff, and you could pump out a grotesque amount of damage. So we said, yeah, well, you got 1 driver, 1 gunner. What happens if your driver's dead? Does your car no longer move? What happens if your gunner's dead? Do your guns no longer shoot? And we hand waved him that and said, no. That can't be, or it becomes real boring. Like, well, you're dead. You've lost your driver. You're dead in the water. You've lost your gunner. You can't shoot anymore.
Right.
So
the answers in the rules is that your car still drives, your guns still shoot, but you only get 1 attack per turn if you're down a crew member, because each crew member gets 1 attack.
Each crew member gets their 1 attack.
So you're still penalized if you lose 1 significantly, but you're not out of the game effectively.
You're basically, with your crew points in a driver and a gunner situation, buying 1 driver specific set of gear and 1 gunner specific set bonus. Not gear, but you're buying a shooting bonus and a driving bonus. Now, it isn't actually true, because if you're going at the bottom, once we did a couple extra guys, we had the rookie who is just a butt in a seat.
He's just a guy. He can drive. He can shoot.
We also had a low-level gunner, but we said, what would a gunner look like like somebody who was good at shooting, but they were on a crew said you have to be a driver. And that's where you wind up with Wingnut, who is not a good driver. He is a driver who isn't a good driver, but he's a pretty good gunner. He's got some gun bonuses. And you've got Hound, who is not a good gunner, but he's got some driving bonus instead of just being a dude. And after that, it varies significantly because one crew point is not worth the same thing that one build point is worth. You get a vast different thing when you spend a crew point on a driver or a gunner.
Yeah, but these two guys, Hound and Wingnut, are the way if you wanted to just be more focused on one aspect, either the shooting or the driving.
Yeah.
Then you can take one of these guys and effectively get a second driving bonus or gunner bonus.
A really
at the
low
penalty, a low one, but at the penalty at the cost of a penalty on the
Yeah.
other side of things.
They also allowed when you're choosing your teams, if you didn't have enough points left over, you still got a choice. I do have a choice between two drivers. I do have a choice between two gunners. Do I want to go just regular or something a little bit wacky? And along with these,
Take both of them, just load up on crew equipment.
it's
Bad
free.
choices.
There, you could do it. You're
You can.
getting something out of it, and if you have enough build points, you can offset what you're doing here. Well, as you look through the stuff, I mean, once you get to 6, and we almost never play with the 6 crew point stuff.
Yeah.
Those guys are nutty. Even the 5s, once you're into our named ones.
Yeah, but those are when you're getting up there, you're dealing with well, you're at least at Division 5 because you need 5 crew points, but more often than not, you're dealing with even higher builds than that.
Yes. They're pretty good. And this is where we hid our cameos, sort of. The level 5 named driver and gunner, Sam Mitchke and I took those. Max is the level 5 gunner. Sam's son is named Max, so he snuck that in the game. And Rockwolf is a combination of the screen names for myself and my son. So these were our
Your self-insert characters.
We self-inserted our dudes. I always get a kick out of those, and they're good.
Yeah, no, they're definitely good
They're
characters.
real good. Rockwolf is almost better than Ranger or Legend, probably Ranger, because they do something really similar at the top end. Ranger just gets to remove any die, and Rockwolf can only remove maneuvering dice. So if you had terrain dice, Ranger can actually help you, and Rockwolf can't. But everything else, Rockwolf gets the job done, and Max is just more yellow dice in the pile.
Let's go back down to the low end and look through these. Let's kind of cover what we've got.
Yeah.
Let's do the drivers first. So
Okay.
we've got we looked at the rookie and wingnut already.
Okay. And this is more than the core packs got in just
Right. This is from the core pack and the crew pack. I believe this is all the crew that we have currently in the game.
I think so. There is some alternate art, but we're not worried about that. That's just the
Yeah,
same guy with a
just
different
art.
drawing.
We can fit one more in here to get 4 in at a time. Okay. All right, so what we've got for the first round, we've got Mamba, the amateur, Possum, and Medusa.
And the amateur is what came in the pack.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's our most is our crew pack because all the odd numbered ones are crew pack, right?
Yeah, it was 0, 2, 4, and 6
Were core
the
set.
core set.
And so when you get the crew pack, you get those odd numbered ones, which Crew pack is one of my favorite packs personally because it allows little bit more customization at that stage of the build, and I like to build from the crew first. But so Mamba is just low point. You have he's not quite as good as amateur. You get either a control or an ace token, and maybe nothing.
There are more crews somewhere. I just don't know what they came in.
Okay. You've got the amateur was your basic, one control, one ace. Possum, which I've used to my detriment a couple of times.
Possum can really get you into trouble.
Possum can get you in trouble, but they're fun.
Yeah.
When you're out of control, you add one black die to each of your defense rolls, and you can still make slight D0 and D1 maneuvers. So even when you're out of control, you can still wiggle around a little bit.
It's a good backup insurance thing. You're not paying a whole lot of crew points for them, but being able to turn when you're out of control
is really nice.
And just like, yeah, I'm gonna shred some tire here, but I can turn away from this wall and take another tire damage instead of
you worry just a little bit less, sometimes too much less, about being out of control.
Yes.
Now, the real problem is when you combine him with the run flat tires.
Well, you do not care about tires anymore, and you just go, whee!
Yeah. You end up being out of control a lot.
Possum can get you into trouble, but it's
but it's fun.
He and the run flat tires are probably a few scenarios all in and of themselves where you just slide around and go weird.
Yeah.
But he's a good time.
And you got Medusa. You take an ace during the control step, and after rolling for defense, you can pay an ace token to add a shield to your defense results. You can pay ace tokens, not one, but you can pay 3 ace tokens for every 1 shield result.
And again, it's written that way so that you're getting a slight discount the first time you do it, and then the next time you do it, it's at full price.
Oh, so the first one is you pay 1 for 1, and then after that?
No, it's because Medusa gives you
got it.
a ace token, it's a sort of discount on the cost in a vacuum.
Because it comes with part of the cost built in. Yeah. So you pay 3 ace tokens to just straight up add a shield result instead of re-rolling. So,
and theoretically on a yellow die, 1 and 3 is a better defense. You re-roll and get a shield.
Yeah.
I've never seen the numbers come out that way.
It's because the dice don't like you.
It seems like when I roll those dice, especially for re-rolling for shields on the yellow dice, it just throws away ace tokens. So Medusa can really buy your way out of that one. She's pretty neat. And I believe most of these, if not all of them, have the 3 health in the bottom right corner.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen one that doesn't have 3 health.
We talked about him, but it does weird things.
Yeah.
Because of something else we did when you get out of the car.
All right, so let's see. So we're starting back at around 3, 4, 4, and 5 next.
There is another somebody with Medusa.
These off the side. We've done those, along with those. We got Scorpion. And Bandit. And the Veteran. And Alpine. And Alpine, we got a question on Alpine when we get to them.
Yeah.
We start with Scorpion, so 3 coster. Once per maneuver, you can spend 2 ace tokens to ignore 1 skid result.
It's, as a driver, so every maneuver you're generating an ace token. So if you've got a little bit of ace token, or like just being given ace tokens, or every other maneuver you can get rid of a skid, it's pretty good. I don't play them enough. I always, when I'm playing at that level, I always sneak into something.
Heat Death says 1 crew member has 2 ghost. I don't think we have ghost here.
Yeah, I know that pyro isn't in the shooting, so I'm forgetting. I don't recall which.
Were they Uncle L's?
Might be.
Well, we'll check and see Uncle L's in a bit. All right, then we've got Bandit, which is once per driving roll, you may reroll any die. I think.
Yeah, it's a reroll.
Any 1 die, yeah. And then let's move
Taking away
back.
the ability to. At the lower levels, you don't guarantee anything. A lot of wishy-washy because a guarantee is a pretty expensive.
Yeah. Veteran driver, take 2 ace during the take control step. Each time you spend 1 ace for a defense reroll, you get 1 additional reroll, which real 2 rerolls for 1 is really nice.
As long as those dice actually come up different.
Right, yeah. As long as
Jerks keep coming up the same when I do it.
And then Alpine, which is when defending, roll blue dice equal to your speed instead of yellow dice.
It's yellow dice, if you didn't know, are 1 in 3 chance to find a shield. Blue are 50-50. So a 1 in 2. It's he's real good, especially if you're doing stuff to add dice, because your yellow, the dice you add won't change, but the yellow dice from speed changing makes a huge difference.
Yeah, because that's the most dice you're rolling most of the time.
Yeah.
We do have one question from a Howitzer Explosion guy who couldn't be here for the stream. He said, what's the best reason to want to spend 5 crew points on Alpine? How would you build a car around that driver?
So if I'm building on Alpine, I need to be building a car that stays in control. Alpine's ability goes away when you lose control.
Right.
So if I am building around Alpine, I am going to spend a little bit more on staying in control, and I'll probably be building, hopefully I'm in a large game so that I can put a big gun pointing forward and back or backwards and slap some armor on the front. Like I want a big steel plate on the front so that I keep pointing the same part of the car at somebody and using Alpine's ability to soak up a lot of that.
To just be able to
Right.
do more maneuvering and not worry about it as much.
I want to point this part of the car at you with this huge gun and always have you concerned about that huge gun to where you're just trying not to be there. And especially if I can convince you to attempt to shoot at a different part of the car, Alpine's ability is still going. I mean, if I'm doing speed 5, that's, let's say I'm only doing speed 4, that's 2 average shields without rerolls. If I'm doing any maneuvers and I can manage to do something where I can get a couple of rerolls, I can very often crank that up to 3 or 4 shields. Let's say 3 shields every time you shoot at me. Like, phenomenal.
Yeah, especially then if you can get any any cover or anything like that in addition to it, super good.
Range rerolls. So if I was using lasers, Alpine would be another way to build them would be lasers. So you've got to shoot me from across the map. So all of my blue dice, and I'm trying to drive fast, you've got to shoot at a blue dice defense with like 3 or 4 rerolls, and I'm not giving you as many rerolls on the way back. That's how I'd start with Alpine.
Welcome in, Murrow. It doesn't actually have anything to do with multiple maneuvers a turn because it only replaces it for the defense rolls, not the maneuvering rolls.
Yep. The maneuvers are going to give
I misread it the first time too, and I was thinking he's better at maneuvering. But no, he's not better at maneuvering. He's just better at defending. So he wants to be going fast to get those dice.
The maneuvering is buying you those ace tokens to reflip that coin that is the blue die in defense.
Yeah. So you probably have a maneuvering, but those dice don't specifically help with it.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last 3 drivers we've got are our high cost ones. Aside from Alpine, we've got the previously mentioned Rockwolf, Ranger, and the Legend.
Now, if you're in a game where it's a lot of points, but you're just playing on asphalt, so there's a 0 terrain, there's no real reason to get Ranger instead of Rockwolf. You can save that point. Because Ranger, the benefit of Ranger is you can remove dice from the driving roll, and that's going to be terrain dice if you're driving straight, which can be phenomenal. If you're on level 1 terrain, it lets you drive straight without really any punishment.
Right.
As fast as you want without other stuff.
Well, how to make any of those
right.
rolls.
So you just drive straight across the desert as quick as possible. With Ranger can be phenomenal. And Rockwolf does not do that. But on just pavement, Rockwolf does everything Ranger does without
1
the
point
extra
less.
for 1 point less.
Yeah.
And then the legend, adding
And 1 white die to each of your defense rolls. Yeah.
white die on a white die. It's 2/3 or it's 1/3 defense good, so 1/3 of possibility. So it's like a yellow die, except one of those 2 options is 2
It's
shields.
a double result.
Double
Yep.
shields is pretty good. Every time you get shot at, nonetheless.
Right. Every single time you're attacked. So good crew there. So those are our drivers.
Those are the drivers we have.
And then
I know we've got some others.
yeah, we'll have to check. I believe it's in the Uncle Al's pack, which I'm not sure if we have in the studio here.
And bring on
We'll have to check it out later. Brendan's gonna look for us and see. So we've got. Next up, we've got our
Let's start with those zeros.
gunners.
Really highlight the difference. Pretty sure.
Check and see.
Yeah. I knew Pyro was missing.
And there's
And there's Hacker,
all right. So those are gunners.
and then Rhino, and
Ghost, I'm guessing. Grab,
we have
grab,
a crew pack?
grab the, yeah, we got the crew pack already.
Let me look. I'm pretty sure it's again Ghost and Rhino. Yeah, these are doubled. There's more than one set in here because it's Red Anchor. But
All right. Well, here we'll set up the 2 from the crew pack there. Keep them separate, so don't mix them in. So yeah, we've got Hacker and Pyro there, or Ghost and Rhino there. Sorry. So Ghost, when hard braking or hard accelerating, you may pay 1 control instead of taking damage to your fire tires or power plant. Pretty nice.
So yeah, for those, that's basically replacing the build point cost of a super booster and an advanced brakes.
Right.
But you also, with those 2 items, you also get ace tokens. So you're shorting yourself on the, but you're only paying. I mean, you're paying a lot less.
Right.
You're doing it at the low end.
And this one is the crew that does have 2 hit points instead of 3.
Yeah.
Do you remember the choice on that cost, or that's just one of the things that you guys numbered out?
Being able, because you're basically saving on damage, just that versatility. We had basically a calculator on the wall. What is a big question I had to ask of everybody who touches before me is, what is that worth? You can do a blue dice worth of damage to somebody with a gun. Well, what is that worth build point wise?
Right.
Is that worth 1 build point? If it's worth 1 build point, you have to have a standard somewhere. If you consider it like $1, how many hit points do you get? Just your what is your basic standard gun that functions completely normally? What is it? This costs 1. Okay, when we alter that a little, how much is that alteration worth?
Right.
If we felt on a driver or a gunner somebody was powerful, then we would take away a hit point, which isn't huge, but
it can
make a difference.
Make a difference.
And you could, if you really want it, there's crew points that you can spend to offset that. I mean, you could buy a beer fridge if it was really something that, like for 0, or there's a couple of like the jacket.
Yeah, we'll get to a couple of things.
Slated best and stuff.
And then the other one is Rhino, which is add 1 black die to each of your defense rolls.
I have seen somebody just roll hot, and Rhino was a consistent issue because
it's 1 in 6.
It's a 1 in 6 that it's going to do something, but you can have re-rolls. And if I've looked at people who are out of control, and there's like 2 black dice and a blue die and a green, like, how you're out of control. How do you have a handful of dice to roll?
They bought the crew
But
and
the crew, a coating, and then an armor, a piece of structure on the side. And
sometimes an accessory.
Sometimes there's just weird stuff. You're like, you've got 4 dice here. What's going on? There is a build for that as well, where hey, I know it only costs 2, so for that little bit extra, I've got something when everything else goes wrong. I can use these ace tokens. Because there's very little that feels worse when you're getting shot at than having a pile of ace tokens and nothing to do.
And nothing
to do with it.
He just says in lower point games, crew death is more likely than power point to eliminate you.
Yeah.
So losing a point of crew durability is a significant consideration.
It is. It was intended that way. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but it was intended to give you another way to die.
All right, so we'll go ahead and go over to the gunners now. You've got the rookie, Hound, Whiplash, and the amateur. So these are our low cost crew, which is the ones I see most often because I'm usually doing demo games and that sort of thing.
So the rookie is just a button a seat again. Hound is that, hey, we'll do a trade off. I really like giving people a choice. If you have no crew points to spend, I still want to give you a choice for fun down at that level.
Yeah.
Otherwise, every car becomes the same. Whiplash took us a long time to kind of settle on, because Whiplash lets you use that sidearm out of a wrong side, right? I mean, what's Whiplash?
This gunner can attack with a hand cannon from any firing arc, because usually the hand cannon is just side arc fire. Most sidearms are side arc fire. And so I think some early versions were they could use a sidearm.
You being able to use your sidearm, there was a little bit of a meta where you take Whiplash and then you build the biggest sidearm you could.
Yep.
So you take the assault rifle, Whiplash, and holographic sight, and now and then Steady and Gimbal is in here too.
Yeah.
Now you're basically dumping all your points with that, which is okay, but it was more than we intended. It was a little too much synergy,
especially for 1 point.
It becomes like 3 or 4, but
yeah.
Is it something we really want you to do? But Whiplash right now you can still get away with the holographic sight and the pistol if you put your points into it.
Yeah. But now it's just the hand cannon, not any of the other sidearms. You can't grenade out the back.
Yeah.
You can't bug zapper or any stuff like that. It's going to be just the default hand cannon and any upgrades that it would apply to that. But still, very useful, especially in low point builds. You don't have enough to put guns on all 4 sides of the car.
There's been plenty of times if you only put 1 gun on the front of your car.
Yeah.
If you've got that big gun on the front of your car and you don't have enough points to back it up, having the ability to never have an empty arc.
Yeah.
I hate having empty firing arcs because I've abused people with it when I'm like, oh, you've got no gun back there? I'll just go out of control on your rear arc. I don't care. Always getting a shot, always like poking a couple of damage there.
Right.
It's just phenomenal. And if you only put 1 weapon on the back or front, or even if they're rockets, having that second shot where it's still a threat.
You can still do something. They are never just safe.
Right.
Around you. Right.
And the old amateur.
And amateur is amateur is solid. 2 rerolls on attacking. It's just a solid choice.
It's great.
Especially when the dice don't like you.
My math isn't. I'm good at math. I'm not great at math. So rerolls, I am never certain that I got the reroll numbers right. We had to go a lot on feel instead of on numbers, and I don't like that as much because a lot of the rest of this I could go off of numbers. However, in crew, a lot more than with weapons, it was how do they feel, because we're comparing apples to oranges. I mean, the ability to shoot out of the front of your car versus 2 rerolls. How do you know? Like, there's no numeric.
Right. How do you evaluate?
Right.
Those, yeah.
So a lot of this is feel more so than anything that was in the build point category. But still a lot of fun, and they give a lot of flavor to a car.
He does going back to Whiplash. Any sidearm plus any arc plus the holographic sight for only 4 crew points is a pretty beefy turret. A proper turret with those stats should probably be another couple points.
Yeah, and then throw on a steady aim gimbal where you get to reroll 2 dice with it when attacking with the sidearm. I've always had problems in this game with over synergy,
right.
where things fit together just too perfectly, and then it's the the sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and Whiplash could get just a phenomenal turret that you have to rip apart the whole card to kill. It no good. It too much.
All right, now we're gonna have the two from Uncle Al's plus our next two. So we're gonna go dip back down to 1 point cost again. Go with Hacker is the first one there. When attacking with any crew, and this is one people will get confused on a lot of times. So when attacking with any crew member, you may pay 1 ace token to fire a 1 build point weapon that has already been fired this turn. That's what usually gets me is when I'm trying to set it up and build with it, and I forget that it's only the 1 build point weapons that have been fired.
We tried to do it with any, but again, it became really obvious. You buy the big gun, and you've essentially got 2 of the big gun on the front of your car.
Yeah.
And for 1 crew point and 1 ace token, it was just too good.
Yep.
Hacker fills the same role as a turret replacement that Whiplash does. Being able to, I've got a machine gun on the front of the car, and you've done whatever else, or I've got these little 1-point weapons up there, I can fire one twice. I don't want to use the flamethrower on the front because you're out of range. I've got a second shot with the other weapon I have on the front at the cost of an ace token. Or on the back of the car, I've got 1 weapon back there. It lets you spend less and get more out of that.
Yeah.
But Hacker is another turret solution.
And then we had Pyro. When this gunner attacks with a fire weapon, add a black die, which is a 4 in 6 chance of setting someone on fire.
Yeah, there's 1 hit, 1 shield, and then 4 wrenches. I believe Machete, if we read that one, it's a similar story.
This gunner attacks with a shred weapon, add 1 black die. So yep, same thing. Adds a, if you are building specifically for burn or for shred, then these are your go-to gunners because they will much more likely trigger those effects.
You're likely to get it. You're likely to have it happen. They also raised the question when we were doing this, and they brought it to the front of our minds on sidearms. You'll notice that sidearms may do a shred-like thing or a flame-like thing, but they are not shred weapons and they are not flame weapons.
They're sidearms.
Because of stuff like this, it became this, again, you get a synergy pile.
Right.
Pyro and Machete are already sort of, hey, just build your car with all this stuff and you get better results. But you are paying for it, and you're paying 2, which is a relatively large cost in a lot of crew point games.
And if you get predictable with it in your group, then they're just gonna run. They're just gonna run with the run flat tires or the fire suppression systems and stuff.
Yeah, or the coatings.
The coatings, yeah.
And the coatings, it's everything is piled and leaned on each other in this, because yes, if you get predictable with Pyro, I can use the fire resistant coating, and the fire resistant coating is going to give me white dice in defense if you're hitting me with a flame weapon. But I believe you shouldn't be able to lose in the build phase. So all of those things that have, if your opponent did this thing, you get this. They also had, if they didn't do it, you get this lesser.
They have a lesser effect still.
Yeah.
There was a fun discussion in the forums early on about whether Hacker could fire 1 build point gun on someone else's card that had already fired.
No.
That's obviously silly, but
I enjoy
He's a
that.
hacker.
Or she. Sam Ishki and I did our best to push the rules lawyering noses into the carpet. But you can only do so much.
Yeah.
There's always something. As good as you can do, somebody's looking for a way around it. But
it doesn't say I can't fire their weapon. No, it doesn't.
However, in the rules, you can't fire weapons that aren't in your car.
Yeah.
So everything kind of makes sense here. Grendel,
when this gunner attacks, add a damage.
yeah. I got to tell you, just 1 more damage on the pile without rolling a die.
Not a die, not a chance. It's just another damage.
Here's just another hit. Not even a 1 in 6. Yeah. Grendel is phenomenal at 3. I haven't done. It's been a while since I did just the star build, where the weapons don't have any dice, and I don't worry about ever doing rerolls on them and stuff. doing the buffalo gun or the whatever.
Just a lot of slug weapons.
It is just slug. Hey, look, I rolled a die. Did I get another point? And you throw Grendel into that with, here's just another star, so you're. Every time he shoots me, he gets a 5.
It's 4 more damage. What? Yeah, it's just
It's
4 more
just
coming
4. It's just 4. Yeah, Grendel's a good time. I love that concept. The dice hate me. Well, I hate them right back.
I'm not going to use them.
Yeah.
All right, and then
Who needs?
we are here now. We've got. We have pull the 2.
You in the 4s?
No, we're going to force.
Strip needs.
Yeah, we already saw the Uncle Alvin.
Yeah, we've got Vandal and then Monarch,
The Sting.
the Veteran, and we talked about Max. We'll bring Max up here. These are the next crew up. Vandal will add 1 blue to each attack made by your crew.
So Grendel just gave you that star, but it was only when your gunner is firing.
Yeah, only when Grendel fires.
And it was also when Grendel fires anything. So if Grendel's using a sidearm, he gets it when he's getting whatever. Some of these things only affect sidearms or don't affect sidearms.
Right.
Vice versa. So Vandal here giving you that 50-50. We did the math. 1 damage on this one guy or 50% on 2 guys. If you roll hot, Vandal's your answer. If you got rerolls, you can mess with the math, and Vandal is better than Grendel. If you don't have rerolls or you roll like garbage, go with Grendel instead because you could get zeros out of that instead of the 50-50.
Yep. And since they cost the same, that's your
That is where I could do the math, and I could compare basically apples to apples.
Yeah.
Where it was 1 point versus 2 half points, and they aren't real half points because if you bought something to give you rerolls, but at that point you're not paying 3 for Vandal, you're paying 4 for Vandal and something else. And now I can accept some of that synergy.
All right, next up we have Monarch. Once per attack, when the defender reveals a damage card, as in they're drawing an internal damage card, you may have them set that card aside and draw again. So, you drew the one with opposite armor on it. How about no?
Yes.
Draw it again.
Monarch is, in the early game, he does nothing.
Yeah.
Then all of a
Once you
sudden,
threw that armor, though.
all of a sudden at late game, when they draw, like, opposite armor, or when you're trying to shoot that weapon off the front of their car, and they draw a non-weapon, and you go, no, let's try it again. Monarch can be absolutely devastating or useless.
Yeah.
Monarch can be useless because if you draw the right card to start with, Monarch didn't do anything really. He did, but he didn't.
Or if you draw your goal for the weapon and you draw the opposite armor card, and you're like, all right, next one. Then they draw the fire one.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
know what? All right, I'll light a fire. But the benefit of the fire damage card is it's straight into the goal.
Yeah.
You've lost 1 to fire, which is still okay, and then the rest goes into the heart of the card towards death.
Yep.
Monarch was a really tough one to price because there is no math I can do on that.
Right. Yeah.
It is so situational. Which card do I want? Which do I not want? Do I know which card I want or don't want? Is that worth more than just 1 more damage?
Right.
Opposite armor, great. But if I just did 3 more damage, the opposite armor card almost makes it doesn't care.
Because it
Right.
it anyway.
So where Monarch was a hard one to price.
All right. Next up, we had Veteran, which is just the standard Veteran. When this gunner attacks, add a yellow and a blue.
There you see it, and we snuck that in. Yeah, that's
It's real good.
when calculating damage or defense. We use the term called expected value. I expect a blue die to do 0.5 damage, which is not a real thing. It is either 1 or 0.
Right.
But since it's doing it half the time,
Averages out to
for math, I called it 0.5. So that gave me a 0.5 and I want to say it's 0.73. Green dice are 1.13. 0.83. So 0.83 and 0.5, I have it all up on a board somewhere, and I used to know them by heart. But veteran is doing 1 point something as damage, 1.3 or something like that. So that's how I know that veteran is better than Vandal.
Than Vandal or Grendel.
Grendel, yeah. So veteran I could price. Veteran I could put in there. And veterans, honestly, you fire a gun and there's more dice in the pile. Great. And again, it synergizes well with reroll one of your dude's targeting computers or anything else that you can get it. Great. And I believe veteran will work on sidearms as well.
This is when he attacks.
When veteran
Mhm.
attacks.
Yeah.
So your little hand pistol is 4 blue dice and a yellow die, assuming you're not adding some other nonsense in.
Right.
Yeah. Veteran can do some stupid things. But a lot of times at that level, people would you do weird things. You make the choice, you stay down at Vandal or Grendel, and you get an assault cannon.
Right.
Or whatever. You're tipping down. I don't see the 4s played much. Monarch and Veteran I haven't seen touch a lot of play. It probably indicates that the level 4 driver is pretty good. Yeah, take two control during the control step, and you can use the rerolls, or once per driving roll, you may reroll any die. Yeah. The veteran, the drivers are really good in that setup. So Monarch and the veteran gunner.
Don't get as much play.
I just don't see them as much. I love them. I think they're fine cost. People like going another way with them.
All right, and then going up to Max, who's a 5 cost, add 1 yellow to each attack made by your crew.
Yeah, that's that 1.63. We can iterate. It's a
Right.
0.8 something times 2.
But both crew members
Both
get it
crew
this
members are
time.
doing it. So it's doing what Vandal does for 2 more points. And yeah, it's Max is another good iteration. Extra dice in the pile. Gunners can be easy to write sometimes because you can just mathematically know that he's better than the other one. They are better than the other one or worse than this next one.
All right, and then our top end of the gunners, we've got Hyperion, Fang, and the Legend. All right, so Hyperion. This gunner may make 1 additional attack each turn using the hand cannon.
That breaks a fundamental rule. A rule of I only get 2 attacks on a turn.
You're right.
Breaking fundamental rules is worth a lot of points for me. And this was another one where it was sidearm. And he said, no, we can't do that. We'll bring it down to a hand cannon. At least if you're putting a holographic sight on the hand cannon, okay, right. Well, you've paid a little bit more for it, and you've got to be close. There's a couple ways to counterplay that against Hyperion. But Hyperion, he is good because he breaks that fundamental rule.
He gets that extra attack in there. It's a 3rd attack.
For me, if I am spending, I at 5 I buy Rockwolf 1 because it's my son's card, and the other is I'm probably going to maneuver a lot more. Yes, this is 1 extra attack, which is phenomenal, but I can make a lot of maneuvers. It can open up a lot more stuff. If you are just an attack person, Hyperion can go off the rails. Extra shots.
And then we go up to Fang, add 2 blue dice to each attack made by your crew.
Yeah. So it's 1 and 1, a total of expected value of 2 for the entire attack put out by your crew. We also had to value different attacks. There is another concept that we talk about called damage breakover. An average car is going to be able to defend with a defense of, let's say, 3. You're going to get 3 shields every time you roll 5 dice. Well, if you do less than 3 damage with a weapon, you're probably not going to get a breakover very often and actually have a functional hit. But if you're doing anything more than 3, you're more likely and more likely and more likely to break over and do real damage. So every damage you do on top of the breakover damage is just game-winning stuff. So if I give you big dice on top of that over the top, every single one is worth money. So in spreading them out like this, Fang is doing a 2 expected value damage, but it's spread out over 2 people, so it's 1, so it's not as bad. There's so much stupid little math hiding in the back of this.
And then lastly, we've got the legend. When this gunner attacks, add 2 damage.
Yes. Just here I am, and you'll notice expected to same math, different way, slice it a different way.
Yep.
It's good. It's good. And Fang could go all the way up to doing 4 extra damage on a turn if you got rerolls and stuff like that. But
Mario says I like to look at the cards. Yeah, the graphic design on these crew, they made the crew all pretty good with their cool different jumpsuits and helmets and everything.
we did our best to not have anyone be definitive. I don't know who Ranger is. I don't know who Max is. They could be anyone. They could be a child. They could be a robot. They could be a male, female, neither. Like, we want you to be able to see yourself in the art too, because it's more fun. So nobody had, in none of this art or the core stuff, do you ever see a face or even a skin tone.
Did the artist know the names or abilities of the crew before drawing the art?
Nope. We had a pile of art, and then Sam did a lot of the names, and we would sit there and bounce stuff off of each other and just fight about it. And then the abilities, we kind of tried to match the art piece with what an ability is. Like, it seems silly. This guy looks like he would do that sort of thing.
There's our hacker.
Yeah.
He looks like a hacker.
He looks like it. What's this guy say to you? So no, we had the art first, and there may have been a couple of things where some piece of art didn't work after the fact or it got rejected, and then we had to get another piece of art, and we would kind of, all right, who looks most like this? Who does this sort of thing? Which one of these is a gunner?
Right.
Somebody shoots.
So that's all the crew members, right? That's not the end of spending crew points.
Knope.
Once you get past that, you have a whole bunch of crew gear that you can have. Starting off with the sidearms. Everyone knows the hand cannon. The 0-point hand cannon does 3 blue dice. All players start the game with those equipped. Now,
Yeah.
the thing about sidearms is when you buy a sidearm, both crew members have access to that sidearm, or both have a copy of it. So
Any piece of
crew equipment.
all of your crew has. Now all of your crew is 2 dudes, but everybody has access to it. And the hand cannon itself was born of basically go-kart fights. In the beginning, what happens when you have nothing left? We don't want just a crash up derby. The game slows down, especially if somebody gets further away. I always want you to have something to shoot at somebody else. So being able to shoot out of the left or the right side with a hand cannon and keep some damage on the table, if all of the other weapons got blown off your car, help the game progress and keep moving forward.
Yep. So that's why you always get the hand cannon.
Yep.
It can't be destroyed. None of these have damage values on them. Next up is the assault rifle. It's the hand cannon with 1 black die added to it, and black dice the wrenches do tire damage. Wrenches do damage.
5 out of 6 results. So only on let's say a 6 for the assault rifle do you not get that extra damage.
Right.
It's pretty solid. The assault rifle is just, if ever you find yourself with 1 point and don't know what to get, the assault rifle is a wonderful upgrade on top of that hand cannon.
It's just a guaranteed extra, guaranteed extra damage.
Gosh, it really makes a difference.
It hits that breakover you're talking about.
Yes.
Like you are unlikely, unaided, you're not going to get more than 3 points of damage off of a hand cannon.
Right.
Assault rifle, it's right there. It's possible to hit the breakover with it.
You're nearly at a full, just here is a star on top of it.
Yeah.
Assault rifle's real good. It can't be used with a lot of the effects on characters. You always have the hand cannon, even if you buy the assault rifle. You
Right.
just
So you can use it with, and you have both.
only with it in a few circumstances with special characters would you ever use the hand cannon instead of the rifle once you buy the assault rifle. And I believe sidearms are the zero cost hand cannon is slightly weaker than the one cost machine gun that you mount on a vehicle. But once you buy the assault rifle, it rests between a one cost and a two cost mounted weapon. So keep that in mind. If you do the math, you'll know exactly where it sits. But you should be firing the assault rifle instead of just a regular old machine gun mounted on your car.
And then you have the bug zapper, which is again, these are all sidearms. It has a built-in damage, a red and yellow die, and the defender gets 2 fewer range rerolls when you attack with this weapon. Wrenches cause a firearm. So this is the laser version of a sidearm.
There's a laser-esque. It has all of the hallmarks of a laser. We asked ourselves when we were building the weapons, we needed weapon category identities.
Right.
And all of these sidearms should show you what the identity of a weapon is by virtue of just like, oh, I can tell that's exactly what a laser is. Lasers always have this very small chance of starting a fire, but they're pretty effective at longer ranges. You don't get those free rerolls as often.
And that is something we're going to be hitting on a future deep drive is the weapon types and such.
Yeah. But you'll notice it does not say laser on it.
Right. It is not. It is not a laser. It is a sidearm. And then we have one from Uncle Al's, the radar transmitter. It's red and 2 blue, so it's slightly modified from a hand cannon. But if you use this for your first attack on your turn, add a damage result to the next attack you make this turn against the same target.
This is a hard one for some people to grasp because this relies heavily on the breakover principle. So if you only have one gun on one side, and it's a pretty big gun, then you can have your other crew member who's like your driver takes a shot with this.
It basically paints the target.
Maybe does a little damage, maybe not, but you were never really guaranteed a lot of damage anyway. If it's the first shot, now you're putting another damage in that other pile, and you're far more likely for that damage to get through.
Right.
This can be really good when you've got a limited number of guns on your car and you're worried about, well, a hand cannon or an assault rifle really isn't going to cut it.
Or if you only got 1 or 2 weapons that hit that breakover point.
Yes.
This will let you make those hits bigger, and use your ones that wouldn't normally do so to be a supporting hit rather than just maybe I can plink an armor off or something.
And it, in fairness, this falls apart if one of your crew members dies. This thing is.
You don't get a second shot.
It ain't. This point is unspent at that stage. This is essentially useless.
So that's from Uncle Al's. These are from Core Sets. And then next up, we've got the grenades. Oh, we've got one other weapon. I missed that one, and then the grenades. Let's see. We've got Kill Streak.
Can't see. That's a couple of.
Yeah. Are we going to cover Slick, Leadfoot, and the Weapons Locker from the release package or from the upcoming expansions? Not today, no, because we don't have those in the office yet. We're talking about what's released right now, because that's what I've got access to. All right, so
when are those coming out?
those are coming out later.
A fine question, Brandon. I don't know.
I'd look at the schedule, but I don't have it up right now. But we'll talk about them. We'll let you know when they come out. We're going to be doing streams on them.
In the future.
In the
In the future, as opposed to the past. So Kill Streak, again, so this is another one, just one cost replacement. This is the machine gun coated sidearm.
Wrenches give you a solid number of wrenches and aiming at tires. So if you like that there shred and if you're doing a tire kill build, no reason to not buy this instead of the assault rifle.
So
if you're
so the
gonna
yellow's not going to do as many likely to hit as the blue is, right?
hit. Yellow's better. The yellow has only 2 misses
Oh, okay.
because the yellow. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yellow's got 2 shields. It's got 3 single stars and a double star.
Okay, so yeah, so
It's 0.8.
so yellow is a little bit better than blue,
Mhm.
and then the white is definitely better and has the
Yeah.
wrenches on it.
White is very much better.
Hey, Daryl, welcome on in. Good to see you. So kill streak. If you're going for a shred build, kill streak is your sidearm upgrade. Again, it is still a sidearm, not a machine gun, or not a shred weapon.
Right. It's listed as sidearm, so anything that affects shred weapon doesn't affect it. It got too synergistic, too heavy on it. And the thing to keep in mind too with shred weapons is you are attacking a life bar that doesn't need to be attacked to win the game. It is a slow him down so I can hit him harder later. It can often be a good in a 4-player game when you just like, hey, this person needs to be slowed. Their speed is the problem. But it itself is not contributing directly to a demise. That would only be power plant and crew. And
Right.
hitting tires, they can have full tires and be dead. But
Yeah, it is contributing to their control pool.
yes,
Uh,
it's making it easier to kill them tomorrow.
and then we have the grenades, which are all these are all range 2, so they are short range weapons.
But you
Which
can still put a
some-
holographic sight on them.
Yeah. But they are same distance as a flamethrower, but just out the sides. But see, these are fun. I like these. So first up, you have the concussion grenades. So a red, a green, and a white. So a lot of chances for wrenches in there. And a wrench will do a explosion damage, which in the base set is they lose control.
They lose control in the base set. It's
In the core rules.
in the core rules. We were, as I've said before, we were always worried that this could get out of control. If I could just run up and strip away all of your control without you doing anything, there's not a lot of counterplay you can have to that.
But it's going to do
But it's
some
fun.
decent damage too.
Yeah.
Those are some good dice. But it can pop up control. And again, like most things that are status effects, like fire and blast, more than one becomes damage.
Yes.
So the first one is the status effect.
So if you cannot apply it, so fire, since you can't apply a second fire to the same side, it then becomes a regular damage.
Right.
Tires, if they were at 0 tires and you no longer could do tire damage, it becomes a regular damage. With the concussion grenades, with that blast, as long as they had
More control.
control left to lose, it still works that way. So if I hit you with one blast, I can hit you again with another blast, and then
Now,
again with another blast.
If this rolled 3 wrenches, would it be 3 control loss?
No, it can only roll 2.
No, because the white
Oh, you're right.
could do a
It
double.
could roll 4. I
could
believe
roll
it's only 1. It's only 1 in that. But if you were to roll again, yes.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, and I've misled you.
Yeah.
Yes, if you rolled 4 wrenches, one of them is a blast.
I mean, the other ones just roll over to damage.
Yeah. Sadly.
Welcome in, Jedi Kath. Thanks again for the bits. Good to see you, sir. All right, so that was the concussion grenades. Next, we have the thermite grenades, which are my favorites.
A black die.
Two reds, a yellow, and an almost guaranteed fire.
2/3 of the time, just with that die, and you have 2 red dice to help kind of put a little more oomph in it.
Yeah.
You've got a very good chance of starting someone on fire with a thermite grenade.
Yep.
Again,
Which in a fire attack, a lot of people, and we'll go into this in the weapons episode, weapon types episode, but a fire attack isn't so much an attack to cause damage; it's an attack to reduce their control.
it's a very temporary control loss because that's a tomorrow you problem.
It is it's a next turn you problem. But if you can give them several next turn you problems by throwing a grenade to the front, a flamethrower to the side, and something else, it becomes a real problem.
And it again, fire is one fire really worth the same as 1 damage? A lot of times no, but because it's halfway between a damage and a blast, because I'm taking away stuff from you later, but you get the choice. Fire's real pain is if they can't put it out, or you give them a reason not to put it out.
Yeah. Like if you're hurtling towards a wall and you're on fire,
Mhm.
you need to turn or slow down and put the fire out, and you only start it before control,
Yep.
and you have some choices to make then.
Convincing your enemy to do what you want instead of what they want.
Achievement. This is fine. Have a fire on all four sides
Yes.
simultaneously.
We did that last game
Yep.
versus you, Jimmy.
Yep.
It was fine.
It was fine. It was fine.
There's no
And then the
problem.
paint grenades. This is the first status effect card that we did.
Mhm.
So it does a damage, so you're not going to get none. And then if a wrench comes up, you apply a paint card to the targeted side.
We envisioned it just basically like throwing a balloon full of paint at the side of someone's car.
Right. I neglected to grab a paint card out of here, so I'm gonna grab one real quick. I got it right here.
And you can, I believe you can paint multiple sides of the car.
Yep. It applies it to that side. And what the paint card does. Paint, it's a status. Before making an attack, you can pay an ace token to roll a black die. On a wrench, you return this card to the supply. So, cost of an ace token to try. They'll probably succeed.
2/3 of the time you succeed.
But if they don't, then the defender adds two blue dice to their defense roll when attacked by a weapon equipped to this painted side. So,
If you were playing team games, this can really help. This can, especially if it's someone who's like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep throwing it and make you just.
or if someone's
this
rolled
fun.
up next to you with their big gun, you can throw this right at that side.
I'm definitely not going to destroy that weapon. However, I will remove some of its efficacy. That is the first status card we did. We could have initially done fire this way too, where you put the fire on that side. I mean, theoretically, you could go back through and have a fire card made to do this instead of flipping over the tokens. But we couldn't do paint as well as fire just by flipping over the armor token, and there was no paint inherent in the initial set.
Yeah. So that is, I believe, the last of the sidearms. Unless we got the only L sidearm in there.
The radar.
So we have a few more things then. Achievement, death on Earth's fire. Lose a crew member to fire you decline to put out. Are there more status cards coming in the expansions? There are.
We've, I know what we've worked on, and I know the things we've talked about, and I think there's one that is a new take on the blast, similar to what was in the book, the scenario book, but it is slightly different from that. It's how I thought that was initially written. Called Shaken. Keep an eye out for that in the future at some point.
We will definitely go over it when it comes in.
Yeah.
All right, so we also have, there's other crew equipment that you can get besides just weapons. So what we've got here are, these are a lot of things I like to splash in for one point. The driving boots. Once per driving roll, you may pay an ace token to re-roll a yellow die.
It's subtly very, very, very good.
Because you're, unless you're Alpine, no, this is a driving roll. So you are always rolling yellow dice for maneuvers.
You got to have an ace token for it.
You got to have an ace token, but you got an ace token for making the maneuver.
If you're just driving straight over bad terrain, they don't help you that much.
Sure.
If you, because you're not getting yellow dice out of that a lot of times.
Right.
But yeah, this is subtly very good to steal back that control that you lost at the cost of your ace token, which you can generate in other ways.
Yep. Driving gloves. When making a D1 turn, you can add one yellow die to your driving roll instead of one green die. Does not apply to D2, 3, or 4 turns. So if you're just doing a little bit of turns, you can basically negate the chance for tire damage.
Doing those D1 turns without losing tires is very, very, very effective, especially at high speed stuff when you have a chance to do it more than once. count bad things on the face, and then I count permanent bad things versus temporary, because a control loss, as bad as it is very temporary. By the end of the round, you're nothing. But a tire loss, that is permanent in this game.
Yep. Then you have the flak jacket. Your crew members can each take 1 additional point of damage before they're killed.
There's
Just handy
you can just make it tough to kill your dudes
for a point. And then the first aid kit. At the start of the round, remove up to 2 damage from one of your surviving crew members, then flip this face down. So it's a 1 shot for 2 hit points, as opposed to the other one, which is just persistent, 1 extra hit point. Yeah, it's both.
And there's nothing that says you can't have both of them.
You can take both. And Ghost needs the first aid kit or the flak jacket. It's definitely handy. If you are using Ghost, then consider that you can make up for the deficiencies with one of these 2 things.
That's when Monarch comes in and he goes, "Nah, let's draw that card again. Let's go for Ghost. Let's dig through."
All right. Next up, we have the 2 attacking based ones. And what we've got there is the holographic sight, which you heard us refer to many times, because it's very good. When attacking with the sidearm, you add 1 blue die for targets within 2 car lanes.
We had went round and round about how do you strap this on a grenade. It's a stupid conversation Sam and I had. And
It's a must-have.
or do we bother to try to restrict it from grenades? Do you go through except on a thrown weapon?
But then you have to declare those.
Now you got a whole if-then paragraph just to stop it from synergizing, and eventually we just said no, just let it happen.
Just let it go.
It's dumb. Duct tape a holographic sight on a grenade and throw it. I don't care.
Maybe the sights on your helmet or something.
Maybe.
It's mounted to your sun visor on that
Yeah.
side.
Yep. Hold on, your one arm. Did he just?
It's a monocle.
It is so good. This is so good, and especially if your opponent is a ram. Like, I want to get in there. I've got saw blades. I've got flamethrowers. I've got whatever.
If they want to get close to you, make them pay for being close to you.
Even on just a hand cannon, then there's a couple of the characters, a couple of the gunners, where it gets really, really good. Really
Like Whiplash. Use the
and-
hand cannon.
Yeah,
This works with a hand cannon.
or the extra shot with the hand cannon.
Yep.
Like, okay, I'll beef that hand cannon up as much as possible to really get the most out of those drivers.
We've also got the HUD goggles, which if you are doing more than, like, most of the games you see us play are basic parking lot games. There's no obstacles, there's no scenario, because we usually try to get them done real fast on stream, and those things do add some time.
Anything that adds a way to mitigate damage will extend the length of the game.
But the HUD goggles, once per attack, if your target has provided any shields by cover, you can pay an ace token to add 1 damage to the attack. So you can negate one partial cover result if you've got an ace token.
And it still works in parking lot games, and by parking lot games we just mean cars.
Right,
Perfect surface.
because cars still block. Cars
I
still provide cover.
Try to shoot Brandon past Jimmie, that car's still providing one cover, and at the cost of an ace token, I could kick it back up and get rid of that thing.
Hey, don't shoot me.
Oh, I'll shoot you.
And then we've got the crew accessories from Uncle Al's. Let's take that one from my. So we've got the plated vest, which when on foot, add 1 blue die to your defense
Don't
roll.
get out of your car. You're in a tank. There are some scenarios that people make, and there's some reason to be out of your car, but it's a
Bad idea.
It's a bad idea to get out. You do not see soldiers saying, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to ride on top of the tank in this heavy war zone. I'm going to go out and get in front. We'll hoof it from here." Stay in your heavily armored death machine.
Yeah. And then the steady aim gimbal. You may reroll 2 dice when attacking with a sidearm.
Again, if you're going to dedicate and run some of these sidearms, steady aim gimbal can really you can get some money out of it.
Yeah. So you're just ensuring those things. And then the last upgrade, the taco.
The
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but tacos do not work as this taco states. So this is not real.
Yeah.
That's not what tacos do.
It's not what tacos do.
The taco was originally going to be a promo card, I think, and then it made its way
Yeah, it
into
was
the set.
we had a couple.
As long as both of your crew members are still alive, you may move 1 damage from one crew member to the other at the start of the round. So it lets you pass that damage back and forth. If, say, you initially put it on the driver with any crew result, and then the driver rolled again, you're like, all right, we're going to pass
Yes.
it back over to the gunner. And then
It
the gunner rolled again. Well, I really need to maneuver, so I'm going to move it back over to the driver.
lets you constantly even out the damage between your characters, even if something splits them between. It's not really worth a point, even as I feel it. However,
It's not worth no points.
it's not worth 0. You're getting something, and the wording started to get long. It is one of the things I hate sometimes, where you are component restricted, where I can only fit so many words on this card, and we like the idea, but we can't get it perfect. So for a point, is it even worth, like, do you put this on somebody? What does it do? And eventually we said, well, it's a promo card, so it's okay if it's not quite the best or up to every other point. You just don't buy it then. But then I got thrown in with the main set anyway. So
And then lastly, this comes in the crew pack, but it's not paid. This is not paid for by crew points. This is in the build points of your car. It is the stability controller. And this one is if you're trying to invest or you're trying to pull something off on crew, or you really want, you just need 1 more crew point. This lets you effectively trade a build point for a crew point. So you spend 1 additional crew point when constructing your car, cost of buying this and equipping it in your upgrade section.
this is probably, it's a very fun card, and it does very interesting things in a lot of games. Is it costed appropriately? I don't know. I don't often feel that 1 crew point and 1 build point are identical. Being that you only get a very limited number of crew points, being able to add 1 more to the pilot at a mere cost of 1 build point, it seems
really good.
Seems really good to me. I haven't had any games that just cracked wide open because of it. It is one where if everybody has access to this, and they have in their mind from the start, well, I've only got 6 or 5. I've only got 5 crew points. I can only build with this in mind, and you put that 6th one in. Like, what? How did you even afford? Oh.
Yeah. So suddenly you can get your 1 point driver and your 4 point
Yeah.
gunner in
So-
the 16 point game.
Squeeze
in the
that
4 game.
extra bit out of it. I know there's another thing you can buy. I think it's
Or you want to throw in you just want the flak jackets on them.
just I really this
After
thing's gonna go-
last time, I needed those flak jackets.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But yeah. So it allows you to that 1 extra point maybe gets just a little bit more out of the crew or the equipment you were putting with them. Maybe you add that steady aim gimbal in or something like that at the cost of
get up if you don't have just the big, and you wouldn't have just the basic game if you were using this.
right.
Getting up to that next guy, getting
Yeah.
Rockwolf instead of the 4th, or getting Grendel instead of just your amateur.
Right,
Like,
right.
it's-
Just hopping up that next tier
Yeah,
in the without having to sacrifice the other side of your build.
Right.
Can be really good.
Hey, how do I get 1 more point out? Well, you can do it right there. Yeah. Now you are giving up that standard steel plate you had on the front of the car. You're gonna have half
Sure.
of that instead, or
Right, you're giving
I
up
gotta give
something
up a
else.
machine gun. Like,
Um,
but it's a side.
But if you're giving up, like if I'm giving up, that extra machine gun on the front, maybe I'm making up for it by taking Whiplash with the
Right.
steady aim gimbal or something else.
I really want to deck Whiplash out and run it because we don't have a lot of build points anyway. So 1 less build point is going to hurt, but I'm really getting a lot out of
but
it. in the other
effectively
way.
turning them into a turret.
I think probably the most powerful use of that is in the low point games where you're
we're kind of
moving all
restricted
the-
anyway, and
and-
you can hop up that next break point in crew cost. and things.
because the vast majority of your build points can be destroyed. If you're moving it over into the crew section, it's a lot harder to, aside from death, destroy those crew points.
It's actually amazing how tactically deep and interesting the game is still as a one-on-one parking lot game. There's still a lot going on.
It does a pretty good dogfight.
Yeah. Now, so those are all the crew or crew-related cards in the current sets.
Yes,
Um,
that I
Now-
can think of. If
yeah,
there's something
we
else.
maybe we missed one. Now, crew is where I like to start my builds. It's the first pages in my binder when I set it up, because that's usually it's a more limited pool. Like I've only got 4 or 6 or 8
Right.
points to deal with for this, and so looking at those gives me the abilities or synergies that I'm going to build the rest of the car around when I go to build something. I'm like, all right, who am I running? Who do I have available to me in this point range, right? Top end, we've got 4 points. Most I can get is a 4-0.
It's
Oh.
it's probably the easiest to build around crew, but
then-
it is the way you forget that the
You can forget the stability controller.
Yeah.
But I like to start there because then that sets a theme for the car.
Yep.
And then I can work on those synergies when I build the rest of the car. So it starts off with fewer options to work with and figure something out with. And like, all right, here's what I'm going to doing for the mobility side of it. Here's what I'm doing for the attacking side of it.
if
and
you are
we-
a victim
and
of
we bounce.
analysis paralysis, it is a good thing to start with your crew, and then that can help
Because that says, okay,
set
look,
aside some.
I chose pyro, right? So I should start looking at weapons in the fire section.
Right.
Or I chose a machete. I should start with the shred weapons, because I've already invested points in those being better. Every
really-
one of these is already better
You
because
really
I
want to
took this-
maximize synergy. You want to build around, and that I often I will do something similar where I look, okay, these are the crew members. This is at the very least, this is the driver I want to start with, or this is the gunner I want to start with. And then I'll kind of move out from there. I won't necessarily pick everything. Nothing's set in stone until
Yeah, you can always
the
go
game
back.
starts. So a lot of times I'll go, okay, well I'm taking this and this, and go over and I'm building the car, and I go, you know what, I really want to use this. I saw it in the book and I'm feeling it today. But that would mean this guy's not as good, or this driver isn't as good. So I'll take a point away. What else can I do here? And I kind of move the sliders kind of all
Yeah.
together.
But I feel like especially if you're just getting started in this, it's a good place to start, because then you've got that, like, you make a couple things that'll inform the rest of your design. And you can go back and change it, but it's a good way to be like, all right, here's the direction I'm going this time, and then you can build into that.
For beginner games as well, these are some of the zanier twists and turns in a car build.
Right.
So if you start with this, you're more likely to remember that you did it.
It's true.
Um,
I on stream, I completely forgotten my crew abilities before.
if you say, oh, I'm going to build this thing around just ramming people, you can do that. It's very easy to forget about the other things your car does, especially since there are no rammer drivers really.
Right.
There are versions of it that help. There are versions of the gunners that help, but it building from that way, it's easy to forget these zanier portions of it. Taco almost makes sense, kind of. Kind of, yes, sort of, a little. Taco with smiley face on the side. We should do a great crossover with somebody I know.
See, I would, the taco could have easily been a penalty to the other driver in the car.
Can't even remember when we were building it what our needs were. I know what happened with Armor Beer Fridge. I know what happened there. That was me yelling at Phil Reed because we were arguing, and I wrote it. A lot of Car Wars design was looking at the past and seeing how far some stuff had shifted. Once you're building and you're iterating on a game like this, especially in the 80s, how far down the line do you go until you're like, this isn't even a car or a war anymore.
Right.
This isn't where we started or where we were going. And the armored beer fridge.
This is a diner and a hovercraft. I'm
Right.
not sure what we're doing anymore, but
So there's an armored beer fridge, and I had it written up on my whiteboard in the corner, and Phil would come in Sam and I would be working, we'd have some idea, and Phil would come in and be like, we should do this. What have you guys thought about this? What about this? And I would just point up there and I'm like, it's too close. We're moving too far towards that direction. And it was meant to be a lesson in like, hey, look, we got to scale it back and be more in line with the core of what Car Wars is. And eventually I think Phil just took it as a challenge. And he was like, we should make it our beer fridge. Because he goes right on the board and he saw it enough time. I don't remember where Taco came. I think it was just hey, throw Taco in there. Uncle Al needs something weird.
I feel like it was something that was supposed to be a promo, and then it just got rolled in.
Yeah.
Promo was the like, all right, we can do wacky, silly things with the promos, and then it just like rolled in.
And as long as it doesn't get too outlandish in a powerful way, I love promo cards, and I get the chance to go to a lot of conventions so I can collect them. But that isn't fair if those are power items.
Right.
And I bring them back to my local store and I'm just stomping people with power items.
Take that, Taco.
Yeah. Hey, haha, a taco. And they're like, where do I get a taco? You go on eBay and you pay $50 because I got this promo. So even when we do promo items, I like them not to be too over the top. A completionist wants them, a collector is after them. But a guy who just wants to play doesn't need it for everything to
work. It's
work.
not going to just get stomped by them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not the be all end all and the thing you got to put in.
Grilled cheese sandwich and the expansions. What did I just say about a hovercraft restaurant?
It is not the first time I have heard grilled cheese sandwich.
I'm guessing it was in a previous.
I think it happened back in the old times, because all of this is born from the old times.
Yeah.
Is it Car Wars? Does it feel like Car Wars? Does it remind you of this feeling that you had? Does it play like you remember playing, even if it's not really how it was played? And I think there was food thing from back in. Yeah, it's
a lore thing from fourth. Okay, yeah. Are there any other questions about the crew or building with them?
This was a tough pack to build, because with weapons, I can throw weapons on a chart and I can kind of go one way and another, and I can what if this and what if that. But crew is the easiest crew to do are things like pyro and machete, where you like, okay, I know the math on this and I know it's exactly equal down here.
You're focusing on this weapon type.
Right.
Cool.
But once you're okay, they can get out and run. But I don't think you should do that.
Right.
So am I selling somebody something they're never gonna use? I don't want to do that either.
We are dealing with crew. I should pull up the getting out of the car rules because those are in the crew expansion.
We had somebody, can you get out at speed 5? Should you get out at speed 5? That's a no. I don't remember what the argument, because we had so many arguments about getting out of, getting. Here was an argument about crew. Can you get in someone else's car? Can I go steal your car? And eventually the if-thens got so long that we had to just say no. By the far distant future, they have figured out effective ways of keeping someone who doesn't own a vehicle out of the vehicle. They got it. If
you can afford all those weapons, you can afford biometrics.
Yeah, yes. They've got something where it's at least going to take longer than it does for me to load and aim a machine gun.
See, I had forgotten to grab these tokens or this rule sheet because I never think about getting out of the car. Because
you can there is a last minute if you're using the crew rules and stuff like that. Yeah. There is this car is about to explode. Like I have one power plant left. This car's done, but I've got 2 fully healed crew. I could just get out, and if I get out, I can go a little longer. I can get another round of shots fired out of it or whatever.
If it's close, maybe it makes a difference.
Like if you are in the burning wreck, it is this, it is that, it is the thing is done. It's on its very last leg with no weapons on it. You don't need to be. It can only go speed 1.
Right.
It has no weapons. It's about to die.
You're using your sidearms anyway.
Get out. Go ahead and get out and make the most out of it, because if you're inside when it ends, you're done. But most of the time. Mostly don't. And there were scenarios we were thinking of where you'd like, okay, you start out of the car and you run in, or you have to do
Yeah.
this stuff.
Oh, we've got some scenarios like that in the
You,
book.
you go around the map to find the keys to the car or whatever, then you get in the car. The real problem is once someone's in a car, you better be in a car or it's over.
Yeah.
Uh,
So if you happen to get out of the car, so there's crew tokens, but they're about the same size as a mine, roughly.
Yeah.
And if you choose to get out of your car at the end of any movement point or the end of the movement phase, you can get out of your car. You take the token, you put it adjacent to the left or right side of your car, and it's a gap. Again, a gap. The thickness of the turning key away, so you're not actually touching the car because you are at that point a light obstacle. Your crew members are light obstacles.
weird things can happen too. Where are you taking damage? Did you run it? Did it run into you or did you run into it?
Right. But a crew member can't exit the car if you would do it into a hazard. Every time a crew member exits the car, you roll a blue die equal to the speed of the car, and the crew member takes damage equal to the number of stars rolled. So you can
get out at speed 5.
You can get out at speed 5.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Are you going to survive at speed 5? Probably not.
Maybe if you have a taco.
But
Then
yeah,
you're not in the car anymore.
It doesn't have to be. The taco's magic. You don't have to be in the car for the taco to work.
a crew member may die as a result of taking damage from exiting the car. In this case, remove the token.
Are they no longer a light obstacle
Well,
once they're dead?
correct.
Yeah. Once light obstacles are destroyed, they're just gone. They don't become wrecks or anything like that.
Light obstacles are kind of. They're not a real impediment to movement as it stands.
No.
You can't move the same turn you exit the car, so you get out and make the roll and find out if you survive getting out of the car. There are special rules if both crew members have exited the car. After crew member exits the car, you still have to resolve all the remaining movement points for the car.
Yes.
The car does
Straight
not
ahead,
stop moving.
You basically make a missile. Hope I live. There it go.
If no one's left in there. When the crew moves, then during the movement phase, crew movement happens before the adjust speed step. So before your normal movement phase starts. And each crew moves by flipping end over end, like a coin. Just flip.
kind of.
And each flip is one step. On foot, crew members can each move a number of steps equal to the durability printed on their card. So if they are a 3 durability crew, they go 3.
Yes.
Ghost only goes 2.
We had thought about making things that instead of being able to take more hits, that would give you more durability. And when making these rules, we were like, but that just makes one guy run real fast.
Right.
And we didn't want to do that.
You also, so you move a number each, so you use the durability printed on a card, reduced by the amount of damage you've taken.
Yes. If you've taken damage, if you only had 2 health and you had 1 left,
You're not going far. You were limping.
you're going 1, you're limping.
Unlike movement points for your car, you're not required to move your on-foot crew members the full number of steps. There's no driving rolls associated with crew movement.
Yes.
You're not going to spin out.
And if you ever overlap the car, you just kind of get back in.
Let's see, entering it's hazard terrain.
Yeah.
Crew can walk across obstacles. Unless they're not walls. Enter car. If your dashboard speed is set to 0, car has to be stopped and start your movement phase for crew to re-enter the car. So your car has to have gotten down to a stop to get back in.
So if you get out at speed 5 and you need to get back in,
First off, you got to catch up to
you got to
it.
catch the car, which is about 4 turns, depending on how if you limped yourself up,
Right.
not so good.
Yeah, if you took no damage getting out of it, at
That's
speed
case
5,
scenario.
and you're running back to
You get it's about 4 turns from now you get back in that car. So
which is the length of some Car Wars matches.
yeah,
So
don't do.
Jump out.
These were tough rules because Car Wars without the car is just dudes with guns, and we got games like that. So
they are here are valid targets for opponents.
Yeah.
Range of cover applies normally. You have no firing arc. You can attack in any direction with only equipped sidearms and gear. You ignore the side arc fire restriction on firearms because you don't have arcs as a person. You're just shooting. One weapon deals tire blast or fire damage to an on-foot crew member. Just treat it as a normal damage.
We tried tracking fire, but it was a whole other thing. If we would have had the status cards, we may have said just put the status card next to your guy and he on fire. But realistically,
But then what would you
at a certain point, you're dead. If you're on fire at this, you're not making it.
And then when a crew member takes, all on-foot crew members roll 1 blue die when defending. Each shield negates damage, so you get 1 die.
Yeah.
And then when a crew member takes damage, you put damage on them. Killed when you take as much as you can take. Everybody up. There's no crew aboard your car. Sequence of play changes. During check speed, the speed goes to 0. Everybody bails. You immediately, like, there's no foot on the gas anymore. Speed gets set to 0.
It is technically a way you could game the system to bring your speed 5 car to a stop in 1 turn.
Right.
If on the fifth
everybody
movement,
bails out.
Everybody bailed out.
Survive.
1, they'd have to survive. But if they did,
then on your next turn, the car is going to immediately drop to 0 speed.
It's 0.
It's going to take tire damage equal to each point of speed lost in that way. So you'll take, in this scenario, it takes 5 tire damage from going from 5 to 0.
Right, and I think we screwed with that too because I've already thought of this. If you get back in the car on that turn, you're now in the car again, so that you don't go. It doesn't drop back down to 0.
Well, you can't get back in until it is 0, right? So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You don't get to act until this is during the
you got a
take
whole
control step.
A whole turn out
of 0. You have less defense in the car than if you did on foot.
Yeah.
Well,
you can use the car as cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, we felt that we should never make the people so durable.
Yeah, and you can't adjust your speed and drive this turn when you get back in the car. Then during your combat phase, they have access to their normal stuff. They cannot use the car stuff that turn. They still only have their sidearm stuff.
We felt it would weaken what Car Wars was if your pedestrians were strong.
Yeah.
If it was like, well, you should be more robust. You should be whatever. It'd be like,
I'm just gonna take the 6-point crew member with all the gun upgrades
now
and then get out of the car and run around.
Run around and go. Why are we doing the rest of this?
Now, you could slow your car down that way in 1 turn. It's not a good idea. Your crew is so on a blue die, right? A blue die is 50-50.
Yeah.
All right, so 3 blue dice.
Odds are good.
Five blue dice.
Odds are good. It's 2 damage.
It averages to 2.5, right? So 2 to 3 damage is what you're going to get. Guess what your crew members have?
Yep.
Dead on leaving the car.
Better have
Pretty
that
good
taco,
odds.
beer fridge, armor, all that stuff.
Right.
And even then, no.
And not get shot on the way back to the car.
So there is a scenario in which your car is kind of banged up. It's getting towards the end of the game. You have terrain or something that is blocking.
You have some cover. Yeah.
You have there's a big thing in the middle of the map, and the other car has just a driver left or just a gunner, and you're just circling each other and wasting time, or he's staying out until they can get the first shot to try to kill you. It might be worth it to have your gunner or your driver get out and then have one on either side of the thing and like, okay, I'm going to get a shot on you when you don't want it from an angle that you may not necessarily like.
Yeah.
But it's it's very corner case.
If one player can control a whole platoon of pedestrians, they all get to fire during player's turn. That might be game breaking. Well, that goes back to the same reason you can't have like 12 guys on a school bus anymore.
Right.
Yes. All sorts of extra attacks in a turn break the game. It's why you don't get them. We don't give you a way to do those.
I could see a weird scenario where it is pedestrians and they all have, D1 something.
We have scenarios with the super fans in them.
Right.
Where they do get shots at the like one shot around at people in the arena.
I could see a high like very dark scenario where you've got a whole bunch of dudes in a heavily armored vehicle and you're like, all right, just crunch them up. Very dark, very not something.
Man, gets down to the There's reasons why you can't do it in the general rules.
Yes.
What you do in a scenario is confined to that scenario. It's fine for those to be broken, weird, and unbalanced because that's what that scenario is. Yeah. Like, that is cool. We are doing something specifically outside the thing. Like, this is all 4 of us against this running token we're calling a bus with 8 guys with kill streaks in them. Or 6 guys with kill streaks and 2 guys with grenades.
And cannons or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have to take them all out. But again, that's scenario design. It's not something you're going to get down to when you sit down and try to play this against somebody else, unless everyone walks into it knowing that this is the scenario we're playing. No one's going to show up with the truck with 8 guys and machine guns in it and just kill everybody.
Everybody's got to be on the same page for it to be fun.
Right.
But that's crew.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of options. There's a lot you can do with those crew points. And they can kind of define the build, the car.
Now, I got one of my favorites to do just because it can get so zany is taking Possum with the run flat tires.
Possum with the run flat tires, if you've never played with Monarch, I recommend just doing it. See what happens. It's so fun.
When they sigh of relief when the car comes out, it's okay, I didn't lose that gun. Now draw it again.
It's so fun to just be like, nah, set that aside and draw one of the other cars in that deck.
There's only 6 of them.
There's only 6, so if you're playing Monarch, I recommend that you memorize what those cards say before you get started. And there's so many fun combinations. I mean, everybody knows about the Ace token builds.
Yeah. I like to use Whiplash at low levels a lot, just for that ability to not have to put a second gun on every side.
Yes.
Just to be able to have that hand cannon in every arc as a backup shot.
It's Whiplash, Machete. There's so many great options. Even don't sleep on Hound and Wingnut. You can get a lot of mileage out of it. And if somebody else is using Hound and Wingnut, always remember there's a detriment and be sure to enforce that.
Yeah, remind them about the penalty.
It's easy to forget it. It's Beer Fridge as well. When somebody's using one of the 0 cost items, there's something bad that comes with it. Don't let them have the good without the bad.
Awesome. Your electric tires no longer protects you from doing unfortunate things through maneuvers and reduced control pool. Yep. No, it is definitely something that you can often use to your own detriment, but it is also entertaining.
Your stupid limiter has been removed. Hooray!
This is a bad idea. Too bad. You can't overdo that. Too bad. But yeah, so that's crew. That's our run through of all of that. There are crew in the base set. There's crew in the crew pack, and there are a couple more on each for crew and for crew equipment.
Yeah.
So those are where you'll find all the crew members, and that is our deep dive into crew. So if you guys want to hear more of these, let us know. Like I said, we're probably going to do one in the future on the various weapon types. Maybe not cover every weapon, but talk about those specific types of the shred, the blast, the.
I see it in a lot of games where they don't. I have weapon identities. They don't have a weapon identity with something. Like what makes this machine gun a machine? Why? What do machine guns do in this game? What makes a fire weapon a fire weapon? What's its advantage? What's its weakness? What's it do?
And there's some that are in there that are smaller categories, like the energy ones.
Yeah, there's a couple that are they have rerolls, but they're self-destructive. You've got a little bit more, but So
we're going to cover. We'll at least go into all those types, and probably we may hold off on that long enough to get a new type that's coming in the sonic weapons.
Could be.
But yeah, that's one of the future ones we'll do. If you have other ideas, this actually came from a suggestion from the audience. They wanted to hear about the crew. So let us know what areas you want us to do more of these deep dives on, analysis and that sort of thing. And we'll do that. And we will see you guys back here next week, next Thursday on SJGames Live. Take care, folks. Talk to you later on.
Bye.